My boyfriend and his best female friend are going on a week-long vacation together, and they excluded me from the trip. My boyfriend, 29 years old, wanted to go this summer on vacation to his mom's friend's house in Hawaii with me and his two best friends. His best male friend is 25, and his best female friend is also 29. We planned this trip all spring, and at some point the best male friend refused to go, so it was just the three of us left. For context, my boyfriend and I have been together for 9 months. We have discussed and still discuss moving in together, and we both say that our relationship is for the long term and very serious. In early June, when the friend suddenly refused the trip, the female friend called my boyfriend and said that, now that there were only 3 of us, she would feel uncomfortable if I went with them because she didn't really know me and didn't want to be the third wheel. She stated that if I went, she would not go. They didn't tell me anything, changed the plans, and organized the trip just for the 2 of them, changing the destination to Costa Rica. I was just trying to decide on which dates to take my vacation this summer. I hadn't received any news about the trip, so I asked my boyfriend which week in August I should plan my vacation in Hawaii. He told me that he had spoken to his friend, and since she didn't want to go if I went, they would go together to Costa Rica instead. He said that maybe later we could go to Mexico. I was upset and tried to talk to him about how I felt. In the end, we agreed to go together to Copenhagen, where we both had long wanted to go, as compensation. I also asked him to introduce me to his friend so I could feel more at ease about their trip together. On July 4th, we visited her and her boyfriend in another city, and although it was nice to meet her in person, overall it was a very cold trip. This woman was not at all friendly to me. My boyfriend himself noted that she behaved unfriendly, in his opinion, toward both of us. I tried to connect with her and her boyfriend. I'm very sociable and friendly, and usually this is not a problem, but I couldn't make it work even after several days. They were also rather cold with each other, quarreling a bit about their future and about his 3-week trip without her, which was planned for the same dates as her trip with my boyfriend. I made an effort to befriend her to feel better about their vacation, but after the trip, I told my boyfriend that I still felt uncomfortable and that I felt insulted by how it was all arranged. I tried to build relationships among all of us and asked him to come up with something that would help me feel better about this trip. When we were visiting his family, they asked about the vacation and were shocked at how he had rearranged everything. They said that if they were in my place, they would be furious. This led to an argument during which I again asked him to find some kind of solution so that I could feel calmer and more confident about him going with her without me. He said that he would never do anything like this again, but it didn't sound convincing. He kind of suggested not going, but the tickets and all reservations were already paid for, and I didn't want to ruin their trip and get resentment from him and his friend in return. He asked me to come up with what could comfort me and told me to just say what to do. But he stalled and stalled until the day of the trip. He bought me a small bag of candy, and I drove the 2 of them to the airport. I feel devalued and crushed in this situation. I want to break up with him, but I don't want to destroy what otherwise was a really good relationship. 9 days later. On the day I drove my boyfriend to the airport, I was terribly upset. He texted me, but I didn't respond. I didn't know what I wanted, but I definitely didn't want to do anything in that state. The next day, I thought it over and sent him a message saying that I didn't feel safe and loved because of how the trip was organized, and that I would leave his things at his place and give the keys to his neighbor. He called, but I didn't pick up, and then he wrote that he didn't understand what was going on. For the rest of the week, he called and wrote to me, but I couldn't make myself respond. On Thursday, it seems he realized that I was serious and began asking me organizational questions. I said, "Which neighbor has your key?" and so on. When he returned and saw all his things at home, he started to panic, called and left me a long voicemail. I was at work all day, but even after work, I still didn't want to respond. He asked me to explain because he didn't understand what was going on. The next day, I sent another message making it clear that it was over between us. He got angry, and sent me a bunch of messages in a row saying that he didn't understand why I was throwing away everything we had built. He left a voicemail where he angrily said that he didn't understand why I was mad, that he didn't accept the breakup because I hadn't given him any say, and that he wanted me to personally tell him the reasons for my decision. I wasn't going to respond, trying to stay calm, but it all got to me, so I sat down and wrote him a letter. I tried to call him first but started crying and said I would just send the letter by email. Here's what I wrote. The time we spent apart gave me space and an opportunity to think. I had time to consider what's important to me in a relationship. And I understand that we shouldn't be together. I'm sorry that I asked you to change things in your life that you shouldn't change for me or anyone else. From the very beginning, this trip was organized in an incredibly disrespectful way. Your friend, whom I had never even met, gave you an ultimatum. Either she goes or I go, and you chose her. You didn't suggest meeting me, even though theoretically I'm your long-term partner. That would have made sense. You didn't try to persuade her to bring someone else along, and you didn't consult me at all. For most people, this alone would be enough reason to end things, but I stayed. You have a history with this friend that is not clear to me. There were bad rumors about you two, that you spent a whole night together when you were dating another girl, although supposedly, nothing happened. I also learned that you were once in love with her, at least theoretically, and then she started dating her current boyfriend and that door closed for you. As I understand it, it took her boyfriend a long time to feel comfortable with your friendship. But apparently, you made an effort, so he eventually relaxed after who knows how much time, and now this woman, who is a complete stranger to me, unilaterally excluded me from the trip, and you didn't even tell me this had happened until I asked when the Hawaii trip would be. You were buying tickets for the two of you when I had made dinner and we had guests, and you went into my room for over an hour to choose tickets for the two of you. I asked you several times to come to the table, but you kept saying just a couple more minutes. There was absolutely no reason to do this right then, in that setting. Your friend lives in the same time zone as us and works from 9 to 5. She could have done it herself. My stomach was in knots the entire evening. To make myself feel at least a little better, I said I wanted to meet her. At my request, we organized a short trip to meet her and her boyfriend, and during this trip, as you yourself later agreed, they were inexplicably cold. Our very first conversation was about how she had messaged him privately when he was still in another relationship and got him to start dating her. You told me about her recent conversations with you that showed there's no stability in their relationship. I told you that this worried me, and despite all this, I still wanted things to work out. For you, for me, for her. At that point, I was planning to be with you seriously and for a long time, and I saw no benefit in forbidding you to go on vacation with your best female friend. I wanted it to work. But every detail, every little thing about this trip increasingly planted doubts in my mind. Your father, mother, grandmother, and grandfather were very surprised when we told them about the trip. It became clear that this was a risky move, given the fragility of our relationship. We had been together only 9 months. How long did it take your friend's boyfriend to feel comfortable around you? We discussed it at the climbing gym, in the car, while booking accommodation on Airbnb in Copenhagen, and again when I said that. I still felt uncomfortable and bad about all of this. Even though I asked you to help me, you ultimately told me to come up with what could comfort me, and I had no ideas either. In the end, the original plan to meet at my house, hang out, and have a board game night before your trip was canceled. Your friend was supposed to spend the night at my place, but not spend time with us. You explained this by saying that you hadn't discussed it with her in time, and apparently the topic never even came up, even 2 days before the trip. This upset me. You didn't know what to do. I don't blame you. By that point, everything was already out of control, and I didn't know what to do either. The only solution I could think of was just to wait for the trip to end. I told you I had 2 options, either get through it or break up with you. And I didn't want to break up, but I had less and less strength to handle it. She arrived at my place very late, and the next morning I drove you two to the airport. After everything that had happened, I know you saw how unhappy I was. I absolutely know you saw it. You left, and when I didn't reply to your message, you wrote that. You hoped I was okay and went to sleep. No call. The rest of the week was awful. To my message, you basically replied, "I'm sorry you feel that way." You said I was being unfair. No acknowledgement, and still no acknowledgement, that a trip to a place perfect for a honeymoon, which, by the way, we had talked about before, was a crazy and awful idea, even with my formal do-what-you-want approval. People in relationships shouldn't have to go through this. People in relationships don't act like this. Well, except for your friend, apparently. In the end, it all comes down to the fact that my emotional needs were left unmet to such an extent that it became a point of no return for me. We had wonderful, very good moments, but also a completely unnecessary amount of emotional pain and suffering. I can't come to terms with your relationship with your friend. I could have given you the ultimatum, her or me, but I don't want to. I want you to keep your best friend, and I want to leave. I really did love you, but I'm not going to fight this battle and spend my whole life hearing you call me crazy for not seeing how purely platonic it all is. That's like trying to convince someone to like a different food or change their favorite color. I don't feel good in this relationship, and I don't want to feel this way anymore. For this, mutual consent is not needed. I don't need your permission to break up with you. He wrote me an apologetic letter in which, without arguing, he took responsibility for almost everything except one thing. He refused to acknowledge that his relationship with her could have made me feel uncomfortable, and he didn't agree that I wouldn't be able to handle their connection. He said that the only thing that ruined our relationship was my own view of things. I replied that trust needs to be built, and he put too much strain on our relationship too early when that trust wasn't there yet. He agreed and apologized. For me, that was the peaceful end of it, but this type of relationship simply doesn't suit me, and I don't feel that his responses really changed anything. I'm sticking to my decision. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Also, watch our previous videos which you will see right here, and good luck to you.